Hello! Mabuhay! This is Teacher Lourdes, and this is your course, Environmental Science. Our lesson 15 is the concept of sustainable development. The objectives are discuss and explain the concept of sustainable development, and you will state what you have learned in this lesson in a 2-minute video. The Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, also known as global goals, are a set of 17 integrated and interrelated goals to end poverty, protect the planet, and ensure that humanity enjoys peace and prosperity by 2030. This lesson discusses the concept and principles of sustainable development. It defines sustainable development as an approach to economic development that does not compromise the environment and resources for future generations. It explains the sustainable development can be achieved through limiting human impacts, replacing used resources, minimizing pollution, and sensible use of natural resources. The three pillars of sustainable development are described as economic, social, and environmental development. Finally, it provides examples of sustainable practices like wind and solar energy, crop rotation, and sustainable construction. As you can see in this poster, two men are shaking hands in collaboration of the things they are supposed to do to achieve the sustainable development goals for our planet and for us, the human beings. What is sustainable development? Sustainable development is an approach to the economic development of a country without compromising the quality of the environment for future generations. In the name of economic development, the price of environmental damage is paid in the form of land degradation, soil erosion, air and water pollution, deforestation, and others. This damage may surpass the advantages of having more quality output of goods and services. Sustainable development can be facilitated through five guiding principles like living within environmental limits, ensuring a strong, healthy, and just society, achieving a sustainable economy, promoting good governance, and utilizing information communication technology as a social responsibility. Sustainable development meets the needs of the current generation without compromising the needs of future generations. As you can see in this Venn diagram, in the middle is sustainable development, and we have environmental, social, and economic goals which must be attained together. The concept of sustainable development's importance. The goals of sustainable development were first adopted by the United Nations member states in 2015. The concept of sustainable development aims to encourage the use of products and services in a manner that reduces the impact on the environment and optimizes the resources in order to satisfy human needs. It is the practice of maintaining productivity by replacing used resources with resources of equal or greater value without degrading or endangering natural biotic systems. Sustainable development binds together concern for the carrying capacity of natural systems with the social, political, and economic challenges faced by humanity. Sustainability science is the study of the concepts of sustainable development and environmental science. There is an emphasis on the present generation's responsibility to regenerate, maintain, and improve planetary resources for use by future generations. such as development of non-polluting renewable energy systems, population stabilization, integrated land use planning, healthy cropland and grassland, woodland and revegetation of marginal lands, conservation of biological diversity, control of pollution in water and of the air, recycling of waste and residues, ecologically compatible human settlements, and environmental education and awareness at all levels. As you can see in this uh, diagram, in the middle is sustainable development, and around it are the people, the planet, partnership, peace, and of course, prosperity, the goal of human beings. So let's have achieving sustainable development. Sustainable development can be achieved if we follow the following points. It can be achieved by restricting human activities. Technological development should be input effective and not input utilizing. The rate of consumption should not surpass the rate of salvation. For renewable resources, the rate of consumption should not surpass the rate of production of renewable substitutes. All types of pollution should be minimized, if not stopped. It can be achieved by sensible use of natural resources. So, as you can see in this diagram, we have the word sustainability, which is our goal. Examples of sustainable development: we have wind energy, solar energy, crop rotation, sustainable construction, efficient water fixtures, green space, and sustainable forestry. All of this can help us have sustainable development. What are the three pillars of sustainable development? The concept of sustainable development is rooted in three main pillars that aim to achieve inclusive growth as well as create shared prosperity for the current generation and to continue to meet the needs of future generations. These three pillars are economic, social, and environmental development and are interconnected and reflected the goals of community development and social and environmental stability. So we have here economic, social, and environment. For economic, we have opportunities for growth, increased GDP and benefits, system stability and security, green jobs and eradication of unemployment, prevention of practices which misuse resources, and regulation of overexploitation and harmful externalities. For the social pillar, we have participation and inclusion of everyone, eradication of poverty and exclusion, food security, equitable distribution of resources, better life chances and opportunities, and protection from exploitative. For the environment pillar, protection of ecosystems and biosphere, increased quality of air, land, and water, better management of waste and pollution, respect and protection for all species, flora, fauna, and marine species, and protection of marine resources. These are the Sustainable Development Goals. The Sustainable Development Goals or global goals are a collection of 17 interlinked global goals designed to be a blueprint to achieve a better and more sustainable future for all. The SDGs were set up in 2015 by the United Nations General Assembly and are intended to be achieved by the year 2030. They are included in a UNGA resolution called the 2030 Agenda, or what is colloquially known as Agenda 2030. The SDGs were developed in the post 2015 Development Agenda as the future global development framework to succeed the Millennial Development Goals, which ended in 2015. So these are the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Let's discuss this one by one. Number one is no poverty. As we know, in the Philippines, there are thousands, if not millions, of people who live in poverty. SDG 1 is to end poverty in all its forms everywhere. Achieving SDG 1 would end extreme poverty globally by 2030. The goal has 7 targets and 13 indicators to measure progress. The 5 outcome targets are eradication of extreme poverty, reduction of all poverty by half, implementation of social protection systems ensuring equal rights to ownership, basic services, technology, and economic resources, and the building of resilience to environmental, economic, and social disasters. The two targets related to means of achieving SDG 1 are mobilization of resources to end poverty and the establishment of poverty eradication policy framework at all levels. Now let's discuss goal number 2, which is zero hunger or no hunger, which is related to goal number 1. SDG 2 is to end hunger, achieve food security, and improve nutrition, and promote sustainable agriculture. SDG 2 has 8 targets and 14 indicators to measure progress. The 5 outcome targets are ending hunger and improving access to food, ending all forms of malnutrition, agricultural productivity, sustainable food production systems, and resilient agricultural practices and genetic diversity of seeds, cultivated plants and farmed and domesticated animals, investments, research, and technology. The three means of achieving targets include addressing trade restrictions and distortions in world agricultural markets and food commodity markets and their derivatives. Let's now have goal number 3, the good health and well-being. SDG 3 is to ensure healthy lives and promote well being for all at all ages. SDG 3 has 13 targets and 28 indicators to measure progress toward targets. The first 9 targets are outcome targets. Those are reduction of maternal mortality, ending all preventable deaths under 5 years of age, fight communicable diseases, ensure reduction of mortality from non-communicable diseases, and promote mental health, prevent and treat substance abuse, reduce road injuries and deaths, grant universal access to sexual and reproductive care, family planning and education, achieve universal health coverage, and reduce illnesses and deaths from hazardous chemicals pollution, support research, development, and universal access to affordable vaccines and medicines, increase health financing and support health workforce in developing countries, and improve early warning systems for global health risks. Let's now have goal 4, quality education. SDG 4 is to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. SDG 4 has 10 targets which are measured by 11 indicators. The 7 outcome oriented targets are free primary and secondary education, equal access to quality pre primary education, affordable technical, vocational, and higher education, increased number of people with relevant skills for financial success, elimination of all discrimination in education, universal literacy and numeracy, and education for sustainable development and global citizenship. These three means of achieving targets are build and upgrade inclusive and safe schools, expand higher education scholarships for developing countries, and increase the supply of qualified teachers in developing countries. Let's now have goal 5, gender equality. SDG 5 is to achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls. Through the pledge to leave no one behind, countries have committed to fast track progress for those furthest behind first. SDG 5 aims to grant women and girls equal rights, opportunities to live free without discrimination, including workplace discrimination or any violence. This is to achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls. In 2020, representation by women in single or lower houses of national parliament reached 25%, up slightly from 22% in 2015. Women now have better access to decision-making positions at the local level, holding 36% of elected seats in local deliberative bodies based on data from 133 countries and areas. Now let's have goal 6, clean water and sanitation. SDG 6 is to ensure availability and sustainable management of water and sanitation for all. The six outcome oriented targets include safe and affordable drinking water and open defecation and provide access to sanitation and hygiene, improve water quality, wastewater treatment, and safe reuse, increase water use efficiency, and ensure freshwater supplies, implement IWRM, protect and restore water-related ecosystems. The two means of achieving targets are to expand water and sanitation support to developing countries and to support local engagement in water and sanitation management. Let's have goal 7, affordable and clean energy. SDG 7 is to ensure access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for all. The goal has five targets to be achieved by 2030. Progress towards the targets is measured by six indicators. Three out of the five targets are outcome targets: universal access to modern energy, increasing global percentage of renewable energy, double the improvement in energy efficiency. The remaining two targets are means of achieving targets to promote access to research, technology, and investments in clean energy and expand and upgrade energy services for developing countries. In other words, these targets include access to affordable and reliable energy while increasing their share of renewable energy in the global energy mix. This would involve improving energy efficiency and enhancing international cooperation to facilitate more open access to clean energy technology and more investment in clean energy infrastructure. Plans call for particular attention to infrastructure support for the least developed countries, small islands, and landlocked development countries. Goal 8, decent work and economic growth. SDG 8 is to promote sustained, inclusive, and sustainable economic growth, full and reproductive employment, and decent work for all. SDG 8 has 12 targets in total to be achieved by 2030. Some targets are for 2030, others are for 2020. The first 10 are outcome targets. These are sustainable economic growth, diversify, innovate, and upgrade for economic productivity, promote policies to support job creation and growing enterprise, improve resource efficiency in consumption and production, full employment and decent work with equal pay, promote youth employment, education and training, and modern slavery, trafficking, and child labor, protect labor rights, and promote safe working environments, promote beneficial and sustainable tourism, universal access to banking, insurance, and financial services. In addition, there are two other targets for means of achieving which are increase aid for trade support and develop a global youth employment strategy. Goal 9, industry, innovation, and infrastructure. SDG 9 is to build resilient infrastructure, promote inclusive and sustainable industrialization, and foster innovation. SDG 9 has 8 targets, and progress is measured by 12 indicators. The first 5 targets are outcome targets: develop sustainable, resilient, and inclusive infrastructures, promote inclusive and sustainable industrialization, increase access to financial services and markets, upgrade all industries and infrastructures for sustainability, enhance research, and upgrade industrial technologies. The remaining three targets are means of achieving targets, facilitate sustainable infrastructure development for developing countries, support domestic technology development and industrial diversification, universal access to information and communications technology. Goal 10, reduced inequality. SDG 10 is to reduce income inequality within and among countries. The goal has 10 targets to be achieved by 2030. Progress towards targets will be measured by indicators. The first 7 targets are outcome targets. Reduce income inequalities, promote universal social, economic, and political inclusion, ensure equal opportunities and end discrimination, adopt fiscal and social policies that promotes equality, improve regulation of global financial markets and institutions, enhance representation for developing countries in financial institutions, responsible and well managed migration policies. The other 3 targets are means of achievement targets, special and differential treatment for developing countries, encourage development assistance and investment in least developed countries, reduce transaction costs for migrant remittances. And for the goal 11, sustainable cities and communities. SDG 11 is to make cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. SDG 11 has 10 targets to be achieved, and this is being measured with 15 indicators. The 7 outcome targets include safe and affordable housing, affordable and sustainable transport systems, inclusive and sustainable urbanization, protection of the world's cultural and natural heritage, reduction of the adverse effects of natural disasters, reduction of the environment impacts of cities, and to provide access to safe and inclusive green and public spaces. The 3 means of achieving targets include strong national and regional development planning, implementing policies for inclusion, resource efficiency, and disaster risk reduction, and supporting the least developed countries in sustainable and resilient building. Goal 12, responsible consumption and production. SDG 12 is to ensure sustainable consumption and production patterns. SDG 12 has 11 targets. The first 8 are outcome targets, which are implement the 10-year framework of programs to sustainable consumption and production patterns, achieve the sustainable management, efficient use of natural resources, reducing by half the per capita global food waste at the retail and consumer levels, and reduction of food losses along production and supply chains, including post-harvest losses, achieving the environmentally sound management of chemicals and all waste throughout their life cycle, reducing waste generation through prevention, reduction, recycling, and reuse, encourage companies to develop to adopt sustainable practices, promote public procurement practices that are sustainable, and ensure that people and everywhere have the relevant information and awareness for sustainable development. The 3 means of achievement targets are support developing countries to strengthen their scientific and technological capacity, develop and implement tools to monitor sustainable development impacts, and remove market distortions like fossil fuel subsidies that encourage wasteful consumption. Let's have goal 13, climate action. SDG 13 is to take urgent action to combat climate change and its impacts by regulating emissions and promoting developments in renewable energy. There are 5 targets in total, all of which cover a wide range of issues surrounding climate action. The first 3 targets are output targets, strengthen resilience and adaptive capacity to climate related disasters, integrate climate change measures to policies and planning, build knowledge and capacity to meet climate change. The remaining 2 targets are means of achieving targets to implement the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change and to promote mechanisms to raise capacity for planning and management. 58, the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change is the primary international intergovernmental forum for negotiating the global response to climate change. Goal 14, life below water. SDG 14 is to conserve and sustainably use the ocean, seas, and marine resources for sustainable development. The first 7 targets are outcome targets, reduce marine pollution, protect and restore ecosystems, reduce ocean acidification, sustainable fishing, conserve coastal and marine areas, and subsidies contributing to overfishing, increase the economic benefits from sustainable use of marine resources. The last 3 targets are means of achieving targets to increase scientific knowledge, research and technology for ocean health, support small scale fishers, implement and enforce international sea law. Goal 15, Life on Land. SDG 15 is to protect, restore, and promote sustainable use of terrestrial ecosystems, sustainably manage forests, combat desertification, and halt and reverse land degradation and halt biodiversity loss. The nine outcome targets include conserve and restore terrestrial and freshwater ecosystems, end deforestation and restore degraded forests, end desertification and restore degraded land, ensure conservation of mountain ecosystems, protect the biodiversity and natural habitats, protect access to genetic resources and fair sharing of the benefits, eliminate poaching and trafficking of protected species, prevent invasive alien species on land and in water ecosystems, and integrate ecosystem and biodiversity in governmental planning. The three means of achieving targets include increase financial resources to conserve and sustainably use ecosystem and biodiversity, finance and incentivize sustainable forest management, combat global poaching and trafficking. Goal 16, peace, justice, and strong institutions. SDG 16 is to promote peaceful and inclusive societies for sustainable development, provide access to justice for all, and build effective, accountable, and inclusive institutions at all levels. The goal has 10 outcome targets: reduce violence, protect children from abuse, exploitation, trafficking, and violence, promote the rule of law, and ensure equal access to justice, combat organized crime and illicit financial and arms flows, substantially reduce corruption and bribery, develop effective, accountable, and transparent institutions, ensure responsive, inclusive, and representative decision making, strengthen the participation in global governance, provide universal legal identity, ensure public access to information, and protect fundamental freedoms. There are also two means of achieving targets: strengthen national institutions to prevent violence and combat crime and terrorism, promote and enforce non discriminatory laws and policies. And the last goal, 17, partnership for the goals. SDG 17 is to strengthen the means of implementation and revitalize the global partnership for sustainable development. This goal has 19 outcome targets and 24 indicators. Increasing international cooperation is seen as vital to achieving each of the 16 previous goals. 77 goals. Goal 17 is included to assure that countries and organizations cooperate instead of compete, developing multi stakeholder partnerships to share knowledge, expertise, technology, and financial support is seen as critical to overall success of the SDGs. The goal encompasses improving North South and South South cooperation and public private partnerships, which involve civil societies, are specifically mentioned. So, looking at these diagrams, we can see that we need to save Mother Earth. Implementation and support, implementation of the SDGs started worldwide in 2016. This process can also be called localizing the SDGs. Individual people, universities, governments, institutions, and organizations of all kinds are working separately but one or more goals at the same time. Individual governments must translate the goals into national legislation, develop a plan of action, and establish their own budget. However, at the same time, they must be open to and actively searching for partners. Coordination at the international level is crucial, making partnerships valuable. The SDGs note that countries with less access to financial resources need partnerships with more well to do countries. So, what are the benefits of sustainable development? Here are some of the pivotal benefits that can be reaped by implementing the concept of sustainable development. Global equity. Environmental benefits need to equitably distributed over the present and future generations. Ethical guiding principle. Incorporation of the characteristics. Let's have the ethical guiding principle, incorporation of the characteristics and values that most people associate with ethical behavior, democracy, equality, or social justice. Physical sustainability, recognition of the limits to nature and striving towards an overall global ecological balance. Intergeneration equity, environmental resources and economic welfare should be available for future generations at least equal to the present ones. So, looking at this diagram, we can see a part of our world, and we can see the economic, the social, and the environmental pillars of sustainability. So, these are my resources uploaded by Sir Arnab Pandit Tree from slideshare.net. Thank you for our resources. And for your student activity, you will state what you have learned in this lesson in a 2-minute video, and you will send it to our Google Classroom in 3 days. Thank you for listening. This is Teacher Lourdes. Mabuhay!